Hello, welcome to episode 2 of my Anki Masterclass. If you haven't already watched episode 1, you can do so by clicking on the top right of the video right now, where you can learn how to create decks and subdecks. So there are two types of cards that you must be aware of. There are your basic and your cloze deletion cards. There are other types of cards in Anki, but I don't think these are very important to be aware of, and I certainly don't use them anyway. So your basic cards are your typical front and back cards, where you have a question at the front and an answer at the back. And I strongly believe the best way to make a flashcard is to ask yourself questions, right? Because this will make you actively recall what's at the back of the card, and is therefore creating stronger neural links, and you'll retain the information better. So I'll show you how to make a basic Anki card. We'll go into our test sub deck that we made in episode 1. So you just click add. So you click on the test sub deck and you just click add. All right, and it'll open up a new window, and you can actually select the other decks if you want to add anywhere else. So you find yourself on the wrong deck, so you can actually add other decks. At the top, you can click the card type. So you want to select basic, and my one just has numbers after it. It never used to, but I think there's been an update where it just have the numbers. But there are other basic ones. Just make sure you don't click these ones. Just click this one here, and you click choose. And there you go. You have a front of your card and you have a back of your card. So at the front, you can actually write questions. So for instance, what is the pacemaker of the heart called, right? And all of you doing, should be a question mark there, all of you doing biology or whatever will say is the sinoatrial node, yeah? And that's the back of your card. And like I said, it's very efficient to just write questions, because then you have to actually recall. You know, in your exams, you're going to have questions. So it's best to have questions on your flashcards. There may be cases where you have to list certain symptoms, such as asthma. And there are 5 symptoms, let's say. So you can literally just write, what are the symptoms of asthma? And in the brackets you'll put 5. And I'm not going to list them all out, but you know, there's cough, wheeze, chest tightness, you know, etc. I'm looking, let's just say 3. Embarrassing myself here. So these are like the main 3. And the reason I put the 3 here is so that when I'm doing the card, I don't have to sort of think to myself, oh, how many are there? Because there might be 1, there might be 10. So it's nice to actually give yourself, like, you know, a 3-marker question, so you make sure you get most of them, right? And then when you want to add your card, you just simply click add, right? While we're on this note, actually, once you've added cards, you can actually click on history at the bottom right here, and you can access the cards you've made in this single session. So if I click here, what are the symptoms of asthma? And you can actually go back and edit it, say if you've made a mistake or whatever. Now, if you want to actually go and, you know, test yourself on the card, you can actually click on that sub deck, and it'll say new cards. We haven't actually reviewed any yet. So you say study now. It'll show you the front of the card. It'll say what are the symptoms of asthma. There's 3: cough, tightness, chest tightness, and wheeze. You click show answer. And what you can do now is you can rate it hard, good, or easy. And what that does is it basically tests your difficulty on it. And depending on what difficulty you choose, it's going to test you on it in a certain number of days. And that's the spatial repetition part of Anki. And I've talked about spaced repetition in my How to Study More Effectively video, which you click on the top right now. And actually, with basic card types, I actually try to save time. So this is what I quite like to do. So instead of actually writing everything out, because I think one of the downside of making flashcards is that it takes forever. So what I like to do is, for instance, if I'm going to say what is the pathology of asthma, instead of writing out, oh, you know, asthma is an inflammatory process where there's airway obstruction, hyperresponsiveness, and then the acute phase mast cells come in, there's bronchospasm, mucus, and whatever, and type that all out. I think that's quite long. So instead, what you can do is just write at the top what is the pathology of asthma, and then at the back. So either on Opera browser, you can actually click this up here, where you can screen snap it, the page, this little camera icon, Alternatively, you can print screen with your actual laptop, or you can just use an app like Sketch, right? I'll leave a link in the description below where you click screen snap, and you can just copy the thing over and just paste it in like so, right? And that's just saved you so much time, right? So I literally just copy out all the slides. Another benefit to this is it lets you see the whole slide, so it lets you visualize things, so you can see an image here of what happens in asthma, and there might be extra information in the slides that will help you overall understanding. So yeah, this is something I do very often. So the second type of card that you might want to use is Cloze Deletion. This is quite useful if you want to do the sort of fill in the blank type of card, and fill in the blank is still active recall, so it's very effective. So for instance, learning the little nitty gritty facts. For instance, firstly you got to select your card type at the top here, and instead of basic, we're going to choose close, right? So we're going to choose that. And instead of saying front and back, it just says text and extra. So a nitty gritty fact such as if a patient is acutely unwell, give 15 litres of oxygen via a non-rebreathe face mask, right? And 15 litres is quite a nitty gritty fact to learn. So what you can do is highlight it, and you can click these three dots up here for the Cloze Deletion. Or as you can see, there is a shortcut, and on Windows it's Control-Shift-C. So I'll go ahead and do that. Yep, and then you can see it puts it into brackets like this. And that just means on one card it's going to have this blanked out. Okay, I'll show you what I mean in a bit. So if I just click Add now, and we actually try and do this card, we're going to study now. So what are the symptoms of asthma? There's 3. We've already been through this. All right, let's just say this one's easy, okay? So it's going to test us on it in 4 days. And this is why you have to come on Anki quite regularly, so you don't mess up the algorithm. The algorithm's quite important to have that effective spaced repetition. So I try and come on every day. I just make sure I don't spend too long on it, so it doesn't seem too tedious. I spend about 30 minutes on Anki per day. So this is what I mean for the Cloze Deletion. So as you can see, it just blocks off the 15 litres. So I can show answer, 15 litres of oxygen, pretty easy. Pathology of asthma, again, it'll show me the back of the card. What I did want to show you is, so if I do what are the symptoms of asthma again, and we say there's 3 symptoms, and we're going to put this in for Cloze Deletion. I'm just using this as an example, but for this I would just do basic card. It's much easier to do. So what would we say? Shortness of breath, chest tightness, wheeze, right? So shortness of breath, chest tightness and wheeze, 3 symptoms. And again, we're going to just do our Cloze Deletion for each of these. Alright, so what this means now is it's a C1, C2, C3. What this means is one card's just going to have shortness of breath blocked, the second card's just going to have chest tightness blocked, and the third card's just going to have wheeze blocked, but it's going to show the rest of them. So what I like to do is just change them all to card 1, so they all show on the same card. I'll make this one 2 just to sort of show you what happens if you don't change them all to card 1, and it might be useful for you to keep it like that. So if I press add, so these 2 had C1, so we can't see them, right? So this one separate card. Show, fine, easy. What are the symptoms of asthma? And the second one had C2, that's why this is blocked off and you can see the other 2, right? So I hope that makes sense. So that's another useful thing on Anki. So those are the 2 main types of cards that you're going to have to use in Anki. If this video has been useful, please do like and subscribe. I'll see you in episode 3, where we will take basic cards to the next step to use image occlusion.